Hello, everyone. Good afternoon to all our participants in Malaysia and the region, and good morning to those of you tuning in from the UK. I hope everyone is safe and doing well. I'm Jennifer, the CEO of BMCC. Welcome to the BMCC in Conversation series with our special guest today, Ms. Surina Shukri, the Chief Executive Officer of Multimedia Digital Economy Corporation, or MDEC in short. Welcome, Surina.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Joining us today is also our chairman, Mr. Abra Anwar, who is the CEO and Managing Director of Standard Chartered Malaysia. It's always fantastic to have you with us, Abra. Welcome, Abra. Ladies and gentlemen, the theme for our conversation today is MDEC leading Malaysia's digital economy forward. A timely conversation, as I'm sure everyone will agree, the pandemic has accelerated the need for digitalization as well as digital. Sorry about that, a bit of internet issue there. As I was saying, a bit of housekeeping rules before we start. We welcome questions from the audience shortly. Please ensure you use the Q&A tab function that you will see on your screens. Do not use the chat function. We will attempt to address all your questions as much as time permits. So now, without further ado, I would like to invite our chairman to give his welcome remarks, Abra, and introduce our esteemed guest speaker today to start the conversation. Abra, over to you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much, Jennifer. Ramadan Kareem. Good afternoon to all our participants, and thank you for taking the time out to join us in this exclusive webinar, where the BMCC gets to converse with a very special guest, Ms. Surina Shukri, CEO of Malaysia Digital Economy Corporation, or better known as MDEC. Ladies and gentlemen, digitalization is taking off at an exponential speed, significantly influencing consumer behavior while impacting global economy. On top of this, the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic has heightened our reliance on digital technologies, accelerated adoption, which in turn amplifies the need for the further understanding of digitalization. In Malaysia, digital services are assuming a central role in the economy. The ICT sector grew by 7.1% in the recent past, accounting for 19.1% of GDP. Today, Malaysia ranks as Southeast Asia's second most digitally advanced country on a global connectivity index. To transform the country into a digitally driven, high-income nation and a regional leader in digital economy, the Malaysian government recently formulated MyDigital, the Malaysia Digital Economy Blueprint, comprising action plans which adopted a whole-of-nation approach to digitalization. We at the Chamber are committed to connect Malaysia and UK and create an enabling network for commerce to thrive. UK has a competitive advantage in digital capabilities with fintechs, digital startups, high-tech companies in various sectors with world-class capabilities. Many UK companies have found Malaysia as their home for covering ASEAN region and the globe through setting up of regional centers and global business services. I'm sure UK companies can continue to contribute immensely in the inspirational and aspirational knowledge and digital economy of Malaysia. BMCC is here to facilitate the cross-border trade and investment flow for economic development. Our conversation with Ms. Surina today is aptly themed, leading Malaysia's digital economy forward, and will focus on MDEC's critical position and initiatives in driving Malaysia's digital economy, opportunities in digital investments, prospects for private-public collaboration, as well as local and international partnerships, and the support available for SMEs and how businesses, especially SMEs, can play a role in MDEC's digital transformation agenda and aspirations. Before we get down to the conversation, allow me to spend a few moments to introduce Ms. Surina, who joined MDEC as its CEO in January 2019. She brings 2 decades of experience working across a diverse range of companies, including global multinationals, middle market companies, and early age startups in the financial services, natural resources, and technology sectors. In 2020, Ms. Surina was named one of the world's 50 most influential people revolutionizing governance in the inaugural Agile 50 list, a joint initiative by Apolitical and the World Economic Forum's Global Future Council on Agile Governance to honor the crucial work performed by those driving the widespread digital transformation of government. May I now invite Ms. Surina to share her thoughts and insights about today's topic, leading Malaysia's digital economy forward. Thank you very much once again.
Thank you very much, Ms. Jennifer, Abrar. Good afternoon, everybody, and good morning to those joining in from the UK. It's such a pleasure to be with everybody today. I hope to make this somewhat of an interactive conversation. We'll be taking questions along the way, and this is really more of a sharing. I believe that the audience that we have today are somewhat familiar with the topic of digital. I looked at the RSVP list. It's a wide range of audience, ranging from very large companies. I saw consulting, I saw manufacturing, I saw like small companies as well. So, but what that means to me is that the audience today, it's very much practitioners, i.e. you're either producing technology or you're fastly adopting and going on your own individual digital journeys. So I'm delighted to be here. For those of you who are not familiar with MDEC, we have been around for quite some time. We're a developmental agency. We're part of the Ministry of Multimedia and Communications. We started out really as in the Prime Minister's office when Prime Minister Tun Mahathir had the vision coming back from Silicon Valley to create multimedia super corridor, which is really to develop our ICT industry in Malaysia. So fast forward 25 years later, the kelapa sawit, so the oil palm plantation that was once Cyberjaya is a thriving city, and we now actually have a thriving ICT industry that contributes, the digital economy contributes about 20% of the overall GDP today, and it continues to grow. Now, where we are is we're really at a slightly different juncture now from where we were before, and COVID has a lot to do with that. Whereas before, the work, when you're dealing with just the first 20% of adopters, that really deals with the creators of technology, the innovators and whatnot. Where we are today, as we think about the world today is a world that's digital by default, which means that digital is the economy. So we're the entire world right now is on a path from taking, in Malaysia in particular, taking digital's contribution to GDP is just 20%. So eventually, digital is the economy. So it's widespread range. And so to do that, a lot of change is required to get people there. I am a big believer, we all talk about digital transformation. Yes, of course, there's technology, there's tools that's required in that. But more importantly, digital transformation is human transformation, because you need to make sure that it's not so much what's your digital strategy what is your digital transformation? It is, what is your digital strategy what is your business strategy in this digital world? That's how we need to think about things. And of course, to do that, it requires a big change in mindset and its people, process, technology. So that's certainly what we've seen over the last year. So just for the audience, um, I'm sure you all individually experienced it directly. I mean, like, we're all working very differently these days. The question now is no longer why do we need to go digital? It is how do we go digital? And so therefore, when we think about the path that Malaysia is on, the blueprint was quite a significant development because to Abrar's point earlier, the MyDigital Blueprint is a holistic, whole of nation approach to adopting, to building and adopting digital. So what that blueprint also does is it democratizes digital also, and so no longer is it the responsibility of just sole agencies like MDEC, but it's our collective responsibility to continue to build the enabling infrastructure that's required to build the digital economy. It's our collective responsibility to build the human capital that's required to enable a digital economy, and it's our collective responsibility to make sure that the businesses that we're in adopt digital and beyond. So make sure that we can all thrive in the era of the fourth industrial revolution. So we're quite excited about the path that we're on, and of course, to go from a digital economy that's just 20% to a digital economy and beyond, that eventually will be like 100%. This is something that you can't do alone, and private-public partnerships is key. And so you'll see that we started seeing that actually. The government's approach last year, for example, in 2020, a lot of the initiatives that was rolled out was really about collaborating with the private sector. And so therefore, as we think about the opportunity for business, the opportunity of investment, there's certainly a lot that we look forward to going forward. When we think about MDEC, our vision really from here on, it is to help build a Malaysia that is an inclusive society, because number one, we know that digital today, there's a divide between the haves and the have-nots. And so first and foremost, MyDigital and also MDEC's vision is to build an inclusive society that is integrated with technology. So this idea of an inclusive society that's integrated with society that works, it's a human-centric society. We're borrowing this concept from Japan, where they have, it's beyond 4IR, it's society 5.0, it's society first. And so this whole concept of Malaysia 5.0 is the direction that is the vision, is the destination that we want to head towards. And to do that, we need a combination of nurturing new skills, making sure that we drive adoption, making sure that we continue to have disruptive thinking, so that the tech companies that are out there, the new innovation that's required, and of course, continued investment into digital, because it's not like a one-time thing. We need to continue to invest in that. So therein lies the opportunity for all those companies, for all the partners out here, for BMCC and all. Like, we welcome that opportunity, and that's what we do. So Team MDEC, we're here to help facilitate. We have a wide range, a wide network of partners, and so we continue to be a thought leader as far as advocating policies is concerned, but also we continue to be out and about, making sure that the impact is really felt all the way, at the highest, big tech companies, but also the segments that we may not necessarily think about at first glance, like the underprivileged communities too. So I'll pause there, because I'm sure, Jennifer, feel free to let me know what else we should be talking about here.
Yes,
Thank you, Surina. I think you have set the scene very well in terms of giving a a background about MDEC and your aspirations to Malaysia 5.0. Did I hear 5.0? Is that
Yes.
correct? Yeah, okay. So we look forward. I don't know how long is that vision going to be, but really, your message is very welcoming, especially. And you talked about private-public partnership and collaboration. It's really welcoming. I would say for the audience who are listening in, as most of them are from the private sector itself. So you wanted to say something about your Malaysia 5.0, is it?
Yes,
Just now?
because you ask, when are we going to get? So it's actually a very it's not an easy question to ask, because it's this idea of, we want to make sure that we create a society that's inclusive and that's integrated with technology. And of course, technology is constantly changing. And so when do you consider yourself fully integrated? I think this is like a whole mindset. It's a whole mindset of the destination is always there. It's always about continuous improvement, making sure that technology works for society, not the other way around.
Okay, thank you. So definitely, I mean, I'm aware MDEC has been, the main driver in facilitating growth of Malaysia as a digital nation. So could you, perhaps share with the audience MDEC's the roles and objective in driving digital economy in line with the Malaysia MyDigital Blueprint in some of the things that you have been doing? Yeah.
Yeah. So I touched upon it broadly. So it's a couple of things. So when you think about what's in this digital economy blueprint, number one, it's got three core thrusts. Number one, of course, we need to make sure that it's inclusive and society. But number one, it's building the enabling infrastructure that's required to build that. And so therefore, you keep hearing, we need more connectivity, we need this, we need that. And so the investment agenda is part of the role that MDEC plays. And so do we have enough data centers in the country? Do we have enough facilities? Do we have enough? It's primarily around building that. So the role that we play, really, and we just announced last week, closer collaboration with MIDA. We're an investment promotion agency. And so to help facilitate the necessary for investors, to make it easy for investors to actually invest in Malaysia, it's one of the core things, and it's central to what we're trying to do from a MyDigital standpoint. Point number one. Number two, when you think about what's in MyDigital as well, like I said before, we need we need a digital skill for workforce, not skilled force. We need a digital workforce, and so the work around developing tech talent, that's something that we've been helping to champion for quite some time now. And in particular, the contribution that we bring is making sure that industry is very connected with like academia. So are we producing the right skills that we need? Number one. Number two, also, are we continuing to upskill and reskill? Because of course, technology is always changing. And when we think about skilling, we always think about the new graduate that just graduate, which is really important. But we're also emphasizing the existing workforce too. So how do we make sure we do that? So through things like our digital skills registry, through the programs that we have. We, for example, this year just announced we're working furiously on an initiative called My Digital Workforce, Work in Technology, or MyWIT for short. And so this is like to not just train people, but also place them. So it's incentivizing employers to hire mostly fresh grads, but also train them at the same time. And they're matching incentives for employers that do that. So that's an example of some of the things that we're doing on the skilling side. And also, it is alternative ways of learning. So last year, for example, we launched together with Sunway University, we launched something called 42KL. So it's an alternative, it's accelerated, think of it as accelerated software engineering school. And so, and it's free. And so that's an example of really trying to nurture the talent that's out there. So that's one. And so another key role that we play is actually digitalizing businesses. And so making sure that businesses are digital. And we do that both ways. On one side, the work to nurture the tech industry. So the ICT companies that are out there, making sure that they're global champions, and also the startups. So we do a lot of work to continue to build up that ecosystem through making sure that we've got the right players in, but also nurturing the entrepreneurs, the technopreneurs themselves. And then, of course, the bulk of the work that's happening right now is driving adoption, particularly adoption of digital amongst SMEs. As we all know, Malaysia our economy is largely driven by SMEs. We've got 900,000 of them, and they're at various levels of digital maturity. And so we've been doing quite a bit of work to make sure that businesses runs on e-commerce. So every businesses are e-commerce enabled, and so we want to make sure that that's because that serves as a core part of the digital economy. So that's an example of some of the things that we're doing right now. And of course, all of this, what's different in the work that we do today versus if you take back 5 years ago, 10 years ago, is the fact that to do this at scale, it requires close collaboration. So today we're partnering very closely with not just private sector, but also ministries and agencies as well. So you'll see there's a lot more collaboration that's happening amongst the ministries and agencies, because today, the boundaries of tech started to, to fade, because no longer is it just finance, it's fintech. And so naturally you need to get closer collaboration together. So there's a lot more partnerships that's happening these days.
Okay, thank you. So definitely, I'm sure the audience will agree that impressive efforts covering various stakeholder groups has been undertaken by MDEC, looking at various, you mentioned about academia and the students and then SMEs and all. So this comes nicely to my next question. And it's also a question by one of the audience here, Dr. Kogila, asking about what are the opportunities in the digital investment. You mentioned about collaboration between private and public, but I think our audience here, looking at international partnerships between specifically UK companies and local companies to drive this digital agenda.
Yeah, so I will start by saying one key area of partnership, for example, is driving business. Like, we're all trying to build businesses. We're all trying to build our businesses, right? And so today, big companies realize that small companies are their customers. And so if small companies don't succeed, then they lose out on a customer. So we see this across all the different areas, telcos, banks. So one of the area that we're starting to see a lot more collaboration with is just, giving dividends back to the local ecosystem. So it is, you're building your business by helping to build the economy over here. One such example, like just this morning, so of course it's an American company, it's not a UK company, but we were partnering, we launched our partnership with Visa. And so Visa, one of the largest payment companies that's out there, but our partnership basically is around helping to nurture startups, because they've got accelerator programs, especially on the fintech side, but they also have very large payment networks, as well as they're an e-commerce enabler. And so we're partnering together to uplift primarily small companies that may not have started yet on their digital journey. So that's an example where we're partnering with companies to scale up the impact of programs that we have.
Thank you. Thank you, Surina. You mentioned about the SMEs. Maybe you want to share one or two, programs that you have for SMEs in supporting the e-commerce.
Yes. So There's quite a bit. So e-commerce, of course, we all know it's a core driver of the digital economy. If you look at that, when I said just now, 20% contribution to GDP, 43% of that 20% is coming from e-commerce itself. So it's a very large chunk of it. From a market standpoint, our Malaysian market is the largest e-commerce market today in Southeast Asia. And that is primarily, we'd like to think that some of the intervention work that the government has done over the last 5 years has helped to that. So when you think at the top of the house, like from a policy standpoint, from a direction standpoint, government is very aware of the importance of e-commerce. And just last week alone, we endorsed at the national level, the Prime Minister's National Digital Economy and 4-Hour Council, the roadmap for e-commerce for the next 5 years, National E-commerce Strategic Roadmap. And so within that, one of the key goals that's in there is ensuring that 875,000 SMEs and micro SMEs are fully e-commerce enabled, both B2C and B2B, in the next 5 years. So that's a goal. So, and of course, to do that, there's a variety of different things that's required. So that strategic roadmap itself is a collaboration of 11 different ministries and so multiple agencies in that, because you need to make sure that we continue to drive seller adoption. So the training that's required, so for the sellers itself to adopt digital, we continue to make sure that from a delivery standpoint, like our transportation, our logistics is all continues to grow as well, can support that. And then we need to also think about the new innovation that's required for service sector in particular, like how do you continue to innovate, and then how do you continue to provide the confidence that we need from a policy standpoint, things like consumer protection, data integrity, and so forth and so forth. So that's the big picture. Now, more direct to what we're doing right now, there's a lot of again, partnering private sector. Last year, for example, we partnered with private sector in a real big push to make sure that business, like micro SMEs in particular, are onboarded onto e-commerce. And so to do that, you got to train them, give awareness, and then also give them the wherewithal to sell online. So we were partnering with some of the big platform players like Lazada, Shopee, and others, so that they could sell online. In addition to that, we also started to think about how do you then continue the SME's journey along the digital spectrum. So yes, you started to sell online, and then after that, you need to start to digitalize your business processes. And so your middle office, or are you managing your invoices properly then? Are you digital? Because all this digitalizing your middle office and your back office is important to increase the velocity of your business, of SME business, and so therefore, it's the velocity of the economy itself. So that's an example of what we're doing on the enabling, it's digitalizing, driving digital adoption for SMEs and micro SMEs.
Thank you, Surina. Yes, sorry?
So we're trying to make it easier for them, because the whole topic could be very overwhelming. You need to know not just the tools, but you need to know how to use that.
So there is actually, looking at listening to what you're saying, there's so much to be done. So that comes with, can I say, there's much opportunities, and things move fast and things change fast. So there is always this opportunity, continuous opportunities for businesses to tap on, businesses to offer solutions and all. I see there's vast opportunities in Malaysia for international players. Would you say that? Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we're also trying to make it easier for international players, especially the new players, because today, to your point,
Mm-hmm.
as things are moving, so customers in general demand speed, right? So ease of
Yes.
doing business and whatnot. And so, so with that in mind, again, we're helping SMEs increase their speed of doing business by all these digital tools, improving their processes and whatnot. But on the other side, what we've done also to help investors, so this is a commitment that Malaysia is making, to make it easier. So we created what's called a digital investment office. We announced this last week, which is really a partnership with MDEC and MIDA to help streamline the process for investors, international investors. Before, I think investors had to navigate 32 different investment promotion agencies. So there's so many between federal, state, so there's a lot. So the whole idea of this virtual digital investment office just we sort things out behind the scenes so that it's easier for investors to do business in Asia.
Yes, yes. I think that's good news for many of the investors who are already here. I mean, it will be if they had the opportunity. That's one of the things that we always listen or we come to us. There's so many agencies that they need to go. And this is what many the investors were calling for, a streamline, a center, a point, a one-stop center that you can solve your. We can see that the government is trying their best to become, to enhance the ease of doing business. That's good news for the investors out there and those who want to trade or do business with Malaysia. So that's good news, and that's really positive news. So just now you did mention about, sorry, yeah.
Just on that, so as an example of that, just so because there are many people listening. So for example, just 2 weeks before, MITI launched it's the Invest Malaysia portal. So one-stop place that's where you go first, and then we'll figure out the synchronization that's required on the back end. Everything from who does what, all the different committees that's required to get to a decision, so to make it much more easier for investors. And that's the same spirit that businesses have too. I think in general, this whole era of MyDigital, government also needs to think more like a business, i.e., how do you serve your customers? How do you market? How do you communicate? How do you move fast? And I think that's what we're trying to do at various different levels.
Thank you. I'm going to ask you, we are a British Malaysian Chamber of Commerce. So just want to, if you could share, where the British investors are, where do you see, the state of British UK investments in Malaysia in terms of tech? I know you have some good news to, success story to share with us and with the audience. I want you to share that to inspire more of the British companies to come to Malaysia.
Yeah, so the UK and Malaysia, we've had a long-standing relationship, obviously, but more so on the business side as well. I remember my first overseas trip, actually, when I got into this role. First, of course, we went to Silicon Valley, but the second trip was to the UK, and having all these different conversations, we have a lot of things in common. Was it 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago? We welcomed our 100th UK MSC company. So that's quite an exciting milestone. And the kinds of companies, UK companies that's here is actually quite broad. So you've got like really large companies that have been here for quite some time that continue to invest, like BAE. And my understanding from BAE, for example, I think it's the largest office that's outside of the UK because the cybersecurity operations.
Cybersecurity, yeah.
Here, and that's of course an area that where we continue to grow. But we also have thriving, fast-growing startups as well. So there's a company called AI Expert that's here. They chose to actually have Malaysia as their landing spot for Southeast Asia. And so, of course, we like to think of Southeast as there's a whole lot of interest in Southeast Asia. A lot of growth is expected to come from this region over the next 10 years. And Malaysia is an excellent place to land and expand. That's how we think of it.
Thank you. And that's fantastic. Yeah, sorry. It's fantastic to hear the 100 UK companies has established their footprint in MSC Malaysia. And I'm sure, this number will grow. And as you would know, it's our mandate, the BMCC's mandate to continue to promote the bilateral business between UK and Malaysia. So it is inspiring to hear from you, the number has reached. We do have a large company, many large companies, and I'm sure Abra will say Standard Chartered has the largest. They are also an MNC. Their shared services, I think it's an MNC-based company. So on that note, I just wanted to share with you also, since we are at this platform, that we are pleased to be together with our Department for International Trade to host a trade mission on tech opportunities in Malaysia from May to June. MDEC is supporting us. One from your colleague will be speaking at our webinar. So that's a good start off, and we're starting it off with Malaysia as the tech rising star of ASEAN. As you said, we are also welcoming companies to position Malaysia as their regional hub, and many of the current MNCs have done. So that is really a strength of Malaysia to be in the center of Southeast Asia. So that's what, we in Malaysia, the British Chamber, together with DIT, will continue to promote Malaysia as the preferred destination, and tech is definitely a priority sector for us. So now we do have a number of questions from the audience, and we have a couple of minutes left of your time. Just now you mentioned about you're also supporting regulatory policies of companies. So we have a question from Tony Collingridge. His question is, many regulated businesses in Malaysia are understandably driving towards greater digitalization. This brings great advantages in many ways for both businesses, suppliers, as well as consumers. But there's also risks in terms of ensuring regulatory compliance and cybersecurity. This is, you mentioned briefly on it. So he would like to know if MDEC is playing a role in assisting both businesses and regulators meet these challenges in Malaysia.
Yeah, so we're definitely playing a role. We're to help facilitate, because of course, we're not a regulator ourselves, but we sit next to the regulator, and so to help advocate. So we're big policy advocates for that. So for example, when the cybersecurity national cybersecurity policies were developed by NACSA, we were there to make sure that people understand what that means. And so the role that we play is to help educate the regulators, what these issues are, and help be the voice of the industry. At the same time, the government has also established enabling tools, programs. So for example, there is the National Technology Innovation Sandbox, which is really all about helping to drive, to shift in advance, regulatory requirements, particular in advanced technology. So that's an example. And so for us, one of the big role that we play is knowing like what's happening, who's who, because there's a lot of different kinds of regulators that are out there, and it might be very confusing. So we play the role of facilitator and advocate here.
Thank you. I hope that answers the question very nicely. There's another question in regards to talent that you spoke about, the various initiatives that MDEC is driving. This is from Sam Baxendale. He's interested to hear your views on the relationship between Malaysia's own talent ecosystem and global talent sources, specifically in relation to digital. While local talent incubation programs are great for long-term sustainability, we have an immediate need when it comes to areas such as software engineering, data sciences, etc. So your views on global talent, as sources for upskilling local talent.
We're big believers in that. So for example, when MSc was first created, and one of the bill of guarantees is actually the ability to bring in foreign talent to help do the technology transfer, because technology, there's always areas where that's new. We've never done it before. And so we want to make sure that there's the ability to bring in talent and do that exchange. So we're advocates for that. Although sometimes other parts of the government might have a more protectionist view, but we view that this number one, it's the talent to fulfill that. In some areas, the expertise is really global. Number one. Number two, the having foreign talent is also key for idea exchange. That's what's required as we continue to have all these programs to skill and upskill. That talent exchange, that idea exchange is key. So, for example, today when we talk about nurturing startups, what we tell the techpreneurs, that you have to be a global company, a globally mindset company from day one. And so how do we make sure that we facilitate that development of that talent? So we're certainly thinking along those lines. And then with technology in particular, like tech skills in particular, we're trying our best now to figure out how best to systemically do more of that. Like right now, we're enabling foreign international talent by having the ability to facilitating the specific skills that's required to come in, people with specific skills to enter the country. But what we want to do more of is this whole cross-pollination of ideas, global ideas, so that we can nurture that talent, especially in areas that are developing really fast.
Thank you. Unfortunately, we are coming to a close of the webinar, Surina. And before we end, there's one question here. I think it's nicely will end our webinar. It's to you as leading MDEC as one of the key drivers, driving digital economy in Malaysia. What, digital product or initiative that do you think as Malaysia we can be proud of, today? And your closing words.
So what digital things do we think that we can be proud of? I think one thing is the fact that we're actually quite fast adopters. If you look at the as a whole, our consumer population is actually quite digitally savvy. So we've got a really good digitally savvy population that we can really be proud of. And this population helps to thrive, build new things as well. So the ability for people to come and experiment and build from here, I think is something that we can be proud of. So I will just close by saying, because somebody has this question here, digital resistance from legacy interests and silo mentality. So it's really, we really need to challenge ourselves to think differently, because digital at the end of the day, it is a mindset change. We're very used to like being comfortable, but digital really is about being comfortable with the uncomfortable. And that's really this next phase of growth in Malaysia. You got to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. So doing things for the first time, for example. And so that's what we're trying to do here. And then we're doing it, I myself in MDEC right now, going through our own digital transformation journey as well, trying to figure out new ways of doing things so that we can be better, faster, cheaper, and increase the customer experience along the way. So it requires a lot of patience and resilience, but I think that if you have this mindset of let's do this together, we'll get to the outcome that we want, that we need.
Thank you. Fantastic. So with that, Surina, on behalf of the BMCC, thank you so much of allocating your valuable time to share, insightful comments and views. We really appreciate that. And we wish you all the best, you and your team, in your digital journey. And the BMCC will be here to support you continuously to strengthen relationships between UK and Malaysia. Thank you, Surina. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we have come, that brings us to the end of our webinar. Thank you everyone for joining us this afternoon. I hope you found the session informative and some good takeaways. Just a quick note on an upcoming webinar. Together with the Department for International Trade, I did mention that we are hosting a trade mission on Malaysia Tech Rising Star in Southeast Asia, apt to introduce this program today in line with today's theme. For UK companies, we would like to invite UK companies from the Northern Powerhouse region to join us on this upcoming webinar, where we will be introducing Malaysia and providing information on the trade mission itself. The focus of the mission will be on the tech sector and the opportunities in Malaysia. If you are a Malaysian company and interested in partnership with UK tech companies, we would be happy for you to join us as well. And this webinar will be held on 11th of May, 2021. So with that, thank you for now. Please do stay connected with us via our digital platforms. You can see the information on the BMCC, about the BMCC digital platforms on your screen. So we look forward to hosting you again. Meanwhile, take care and stay safe. Bye for now.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Surina. Bye.